national debt now exceeds $16 trillion, seems headed towards a much bigger number. Should we be concerned about that number, and why? Peter, I'm going to start off with you.
Well, there's so many misconceptions about the national debt. You know, there's the debt that we actually owe in bonds to the public and to foreign governments and so forth, or foreign companies, and that's real debt. And the bigger that gets, the more interest we have to pay, and at some point, the ability of markets to absorb that will be satiated. And at that point, we'll pay very high interest rates on our debt, just like Spain.
The one thing I would point out is that the U.S. Federal government gross debt now at about 100%. It's about 100% of GDP, and that's actually as large as a number of countries in Europe that have got deeply into trouble in the recent financial crises in Europe. And the problem will come down the road if the economy returns to normal growth, and if debt keeps rising, the interest rates on U.S. government debt will start rising, and the amount of annual spending that will be paid out in interest payments will double, quadruple, perhaps in coming years, and so that's when the real trouble will begin.
When you run large deficits, you transfer your wealth down the road to the holders of the debt. And more those of our debt is being held outside the U.S. So as we go down that road and transfer more and more abroad and service that, we're going to provide more and more wealth abroad and less wealth at home. In addition, we've seen in the past that one kind of age-old way of addressing perennial deficits that are so hard to address, is to inflate the economy and essentially try to pay them back in cheaper dollars. Now, we have a Fed now that has been, for quite some time, very diligent about inflation. But in this particular economic downturn, they have had to use some fairly extraordinary avenues to try and address the weak economy, and have at least put the potential out there for rising inflation down the road, which would in turn exacerbate the interest rate and the debt service problem that a large debt provides.
The money guys will always take care of themselves, and they have proven that through the centuries. All you need to know is that they will say, you are dysfunctional, and we want more money for our money. And at that point, inflation will kick in and interest rates will go up. And guess who will get hurt the worst? The little guy that everybody talks about, all parties, everybody, the little guy, the most vulnerable in society. Those are the guys, those are the stuckies. And the stuck-ors will be the money guys.
All the people we owe money to, they aren't exactly our buddies. Huh? And they want a return. And if you think about the amount as example that we own China, China is in the throes of going from an export-driven economy to a consumption-based economy. So they're not going to need our money. And if the supply of money coming to us goes down and our demand for borrowing goes up, that means the cost of money is going to go up. And it's not just the cost of government money, it goes to the cost of home mortgages, the cost of car loans, the cost of credit card bills, the whole works. I tell you what scares me, people, every time you have an economist come talk to you, they talk about the comparison of the Great Recession to the Depression. I think you also ought to look at 1918 and the Weimar Republic in Germany, if you really want to get scared. They fought that great big war in Germany and they financed it all on credit. Well, we just fought 2 wars and financed it all on credit. They had deficits as far as the eye can see. We had trillion-dollar deficits as far as the eye could see. They manufactured money to bring down unemployment. Well, that's what these QE programs are. And they devalued their currency. The outcome wasn't so good. You've got to get worried. You've got to get angry. You've got to talk to your congressmen, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, and say, we got to face up to these problems. Our generation does. We can't wait till the next generation sits in those chairs you're sitting in today. We just can't. We don't have that amount of time.
All right, and we're going to conclude the program on that note. I'd like to thank Al and Erskine for their time.
Thank you very much.